Signore e signori, abbiamo più influenza, sui tuoi figli di te, Molly amiamo creato e iniziato da New Jersey. Last week today live, presentato da Philtastic, comics and art.
Let's fucking go.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another live show that I'm woefully unprepared for. Oh well. I don't know if you could hear my son screaming. I don't know if you could hear me because I'm trying this on my iPad rather than my phone for once, hence the extreme angle. I'm going to tell you right now, I am not fully prepared, but we'll see what we do. I didn't count on a lot of things. I didn't count on using about 45 minutes this morning to shovel a little bit of snow. It's definitely been a morning. So we've run no caffeine, no food, just a little bit of water so far. And we'll see how far we get into this before either we run out of time, we run out of comics, that's not going to happen, or I pass out. Now, I only grabbed half of a long box today. I don't know. You tell me. You do it better than I do, man. So you tell me. So this is an idea. It's a little bit different that I had because as we're coming into 2025, if you haven't seen some of my more personal recorded content, I have to trim and organize the collection. I've tried to been organized for a long time. Okay. It's just not happening. I think I have to do, hey, Mike, and hey, Las Cruces, and hey, Brian. Sorry, I didn't say hello to you guys earlier. It's, I think I have to do something kind of like Joe does, where it's like, I know where it is, just it's in some kind of order. And Joe could probably speak more eloquently than I can on that thing. So I figured, look, let me grab a long box or two and delve right in. I say long boxes because that's what I used to collect my comics in. I've kind of thought about switching over to the short boxes, but I'm going to be honest with you. I have about 45 long boxes. It's been a while. So switching to a short box is quite an investment, maybe as they come along. But that's why this first box that I went to grab, I'll say this, it's a little bit more organized than it is. I used to be very organized with my collection, and then I turned 18. That's just what happens, I guess. And so this particular long box is falling apart. So it was an easy kind of selection. I had to transfer it anyway. It's like, oh, well, let's do it here where everybody can see. So this will either be really interesting or really boring. You guys decide. And I decided to use my iPad rather than my phone because I figured while I'm doing it, I can see if I have the comics that I'm organizing in the CLZ app. Because I think I'm pretty up to date, but I don't know for sure. So as I said, this, hey Joe, we were just talking about you. Good things, I promise. Joe had a great show last night. I have not watched it yet, but I know it's good. My YouTube time has been very severely reduced as far as comics go. It's just, that's kind of where I'm at in life. But I'm sure everybody knows that. Collectomania, is that my buddy David? Let me see. I clicked on your name like it's going to grow bigger. And I say that because David's changed his name so many times, I feel like there's 8 Davids now. But I'll show you this box. This actually was probably from when I was a little bit after 18 and a little bit mixed. This is when I got back into comics back in 2001. My approach was Wolverine Origins got me in, and I figured let me try to catch up with the X-Men and continue on it. So this box is the Extreme X-Men. This was the premise for the series was good. I don't think the execution was all that great, in my opinion. There was really kind of no rhyme or reason to the team, if I remember. I think it was just, it caught my attention because at the time it was the first X-Men team without Wolverine. And the whole point, at least of the first arc, and this was written by Chris Claremont, was I think Destiny had died. She got better, of course, as we all know, as they tend to do in comics at least. And Neil's here. I didn't. Oh, it's so Collectomania is Neil. I'm sorry. Collect. Oh yeah, there we go. Yeah, so Destiny had died. They were trying to, I think, collect the pages of her diary, and I don't know why. And to be honest with you, I don't know that they ever really got them. Yeah, Neil, it's very, very small picture. I can hardly see, sir. Sorry about that. Anyway, some highs. I know Sal LaRocca art. If you were a fan of Psylocke in this series, you were in luck. This was a character by the name of Vargas. I think this is the only time he's been used in comics. Sage had a good time here. That was probably a bad example, a bad place to say it. Yeah, this was also around the time they did the Nuff Said issues. I apologize for the glare. We are where we are. That's just how it is. Sorry, right there you can see Nuff Said. And that's supposed to be an homage to the Larry Hama G.I. Joe issue. So let me check CLZ. I think I am up to date pretty much with what I have here. And I should say this, I'm not rebagging or reboarding on this, only because I'm not prepared to do so. I'm just kind of going through it and seeing what we've got. If you are an X-Men fan from the era, then you might know this gold character. Her name was Lifeguard. And you might say, hey, how come we don't know too much about Lifeguard anymore? And it's because she was a terrible character. Yeah, there was a heavy push on her and her brother Slipstream, and that's all I remember about them. And I think that's all that we should remember about them. I don't even think they were on Krakoa. They might have been in the background at some point. I remember the Hounds. That was a villain that started in the late 90s. I think it was X Factor Annual? No, it wasn't Uncanny Annual because I remember Bishop fighting him. The Hounds were a big part of that. Go, interesting cover. So I'm just making sure at this point too, because I know I'm doing a lot of babbling, that I'm not missing anything. And as I said, I'm not rebagging, reboarding. These probably could last another year or so. And I remember one of the big shockers, I think I passed it already. Vargas, the guy with the sword, killed Psylocke. Again, she got better. Yeah, that's kind of what I remember at the series. There was also another character whom I don't see on the covers, named Thunder. He was, I think, Thunderbird 3. And he was interesting to me because he was an Indian character, had some sort of fire control. He was romantically linked to Psylocke, and again, he's another one that we really haven't heard too much of. I think he was involved with X-Corps recently. Cool cover. So let's see. I'm kind of going through it, and you know, the series did kind of trail off as they tend to do with Claremont. To be honest with you, his later stuff, in my opinion, is a little rough. It looks like Sal LaRocca was on it until issue 24 before a guy by the name of Cordy took over, whom I don't know off the top of my head. But LaRocca looks like continued on the covers. This is a cool Wolverine cover. This was in the era where they were kind of in the black leather-esque thing, costumes to mimic the movie. Here was Shadowcat, or Kitty Pryde, whatever she was going by at that point. And actually, what I thought was interesting is they started to mimic the, in my opinion, the ultimate costumes. And I'm going to be honest with you, the story I gave you with this, as far as looking for Destiny's pages and whatnot, was long gone by this point, so I don't really remember what happened in the series after this. I guess that's what happens after you collect for a while. So I'm up to issue 36 right now, and I have not broken the chain. so to speak. I would say this too. LaRocca, I guess, was into Storm. There was like just 4 Storm covers. If John's Comics from Kids is watching and you don't have this series, because I know he's a big Storm guy, there you go. They did do one of those 5-issue maxi series recently, and I did collect that, and it's not good, in my opinion. I was trying to show some of these boards are beat up. Jesus Christ. Excuse me. I was trying to remember. I guess it was early on. Yeah, it looks like it went up to issue. Yeah, this was the last issue. Yeah, this one needs to be rebagged. This was issue 46. And Claremont stayed on the whole time, and there was an annual. I remember I thought this was kind of a cool idea, where they did it in kind of like a widescreen. So you had to read it like this. I think they had done a couple annuals like that. And yeah, it was something different. There was a story, I can kind of remember the cover. I thought it was early on, but I didn't see the cover, where they had crossed into China, and China had their own kind of team of state registered mutants, I guess you could say, or state, kind of like an X Factor. And they, okay, good, I do have all those in the system. Bravo for me. They did some stuff like they had kidnapped Rogue and put a bunch of the acupuncture needles in her, and the whole idea was that they weren't pain points, they were pleasure points, so that as soon as the pins are removed, it would be like disconnecting to just something grand. Anyway, that was the Extreme X-Men Series 1. Again, I'm cleaning up a box that's demolished. You want to know how organized I used to be? I remember I used to borrow my dad's label maker to the point where I think my stepmom one Christmas was like, "Oh, here, we gave you your own label maker." I'm like, "Gee, this is great." But yeah, that's how organized I used to be. I could tell you that it's not like that at all. So as I was saying early on, I'm culling the collection, but some of these, at least from what I've seen, are not things that I'm going to necessarily part with at this point. I shouldn't say that, because look, if I can't remember the stories for Extreme, what's the point? I'll have to think on that. You know, I know definitely Uncanny and Wolverine and even the main X-Men series is not something I'm going to part with, but I guess anything else might be up for grabs. But let's show X-Men Unlimited. I remember this started when I was in high school. I still do that. Well, you are a better person than me, Mike. It's just time, attention, money. You know all the things. X-Men Unlimited 1. This was a great anthology series. You had some really solid stories in here. Issue number 2. I should see if these are in the app. And if we get through this pile, I'm going to grab a short box of stuff that's not X-Men, just so it might be more interesting to some. But this is what I got. Yeah, this one looks like it's pretty up to date so far. This is a Bill Sienkiewicz cover. I remember liking this one. I remember this next one I was pissed because at this time my LCS, my original LCS, Evil, anytime you want to come over, you want to spend like a week or two in Jersey, because like I said, I have a lot of comics. We'll set you up, do whatever you have to do. I got a nice couch you can rest on, and have at it. Yeah, no, this next one, my LCS, original LCS, we're talking way back in the 90s, did a little midnight closing, why don't they say, where they were there on a Friday, and then on a Saturday they were gone. They didn't tell anybody. I guess they were running away from the landlord. You could do that, I suppose, in the 90s, not legally. But you know, there was about a month or two interruption where I couldn't find certain books. And I remember this one took me a while to find, and I was pissed about it because it was a really integral story. This was the first time I think that they made a connection that Rogue and Nightcrawler are actually siblings. X-Men Unlimited 4, and I think this is a Joe Matarata, I can't say his name right, cover. Hi, Christina. How you doing? This is a cool cover. I think this is, is this an Andy Kubert? I don't think it's a Jim Lee. Number 5. And I'll be honest with you, with the X-Men, if there's a story with the Shi'ar, 9 times out of 10, I'm checked out. But it's a cool cover. Sauron is another one I've talked about it before. I think it's the worst X-Men villain. 7. This one I remember, Adam Polina cover. And this also pissed me off because this was around the time that Marvel stopped putting numbers on the covers because why would you? And they also, I think this was bi-monthly at this point. So this was December, and then this is October. Maybe it isn't. Hold on. September. Yeah, see, I'm all messed up already. Jeez. Maybe it was a misprint and these are worth like $1 million. Probably not. Oh, it says number 8 at the bottom, but it came out in October, so that's strange. Yeah, so this is number 7 with a December thing. It's the same volume. And this is October, but it's number 8. And then I have December again, that's number 9. Now, I remember this one was hard to come by for some reason, because this was, anybody from the 90s or who's read Age of Apocalypse remembers the Dark Beast. And the Dark Beast was one of the characters. It was an evil version of the Beast who made it over to the main Marvel Universe. And this was the issue that the Beast and Dark Beast finally had a meet-up, why don't we say. And it was an interesting twist. Ian Churchill art on this, I remember liking that a lot. More Ian Churchill art. The next issue. And here is Onslaught. Is this early Quesada? Oh, no, this is Ariel Olivetti, believe it or not. Here is number 13. I actually had multiple copies of this one for some reason, and there is another one in the Road to 1K giveaway box. I know that. Okay, this is kind of where I trailed off with the series, and I'm just double checking my app here. Yeah, because number 14 I don't have. It was hard to come by because it was part of Onslaught, and it's on my want list, as in if I ever happen to be going by $1, then I'll do that. It might be sooner than later because that one I know has Franklin Richards, so I doubt the Fantastic Four is going to do anything with this, but you never know. X-Men Limited 15. This was when Wolverine lost his nose, and he's fighting his old buddy Maverick, who just had a pretty good run during the most recent X-Force series. And you can see this is where I start to space out. Number 17. And I should say this, in my humble opinion, the quality of the stories just wasn't there at that point. Number 20. And then we take a big jump. And I'm double checking to make sure. Let me see this. It says I have number 25, but I don't see it here. So I'm going to have to unflag that in my collection, not in collection. Come on. And I should add that if I were to find this, I'm not going to get it slabbed. These ones, I don't see any reason to really slab these. Reading after Age, it got really confusing on where to continue. I disagree. See, right after Age of Apocalypse is where I kind of really delved into more X titles outside of your regular X-Men and Uncanny. Just because I came to like and appreciate a lot of these characters as they were in Age of Apocalypse. And to be honest, I thought for the most part, they all had a very solid start. You know, how they kind of ended, I know at one point X Factor really went off the rails. X Force, I want to say I stayed through until Polina was off, but I might be wrong on that one. For a while, Cable and X-Man, you know, remember Nate Gray, the clone of Cable from Age of Apocalypse, were really my favorite titles to read. And I remember being underwhelmed by their first meetup, basically. But yeah, that's kind of when I dived in, and then right when that took me up until I went into college and really could not get to an LCS. I went back and filled in some stuff intermittently. At one point, I was actively going after cheap issues of like X Force and X Factor from that time, but I just was like, you know what, for what? Generation X was another one too that I used to really like, and right after Operation Zero Tolerance, I kind of fell off with a lot of that. But I can tell you what, if you have Mike, I don't know if you have the Marvel Unlimited app or another means to read things digitally. Some of these stories in the X-Men Unlimited series are really good, and this one was one of them. It was from the Ages of Apocalypse. So for those who may not know, Ages of Apocalypse, what that is a reference to, not just Age of Apocalypse, it's probably just a money grab, to be honest with you. But when it come like early 2000, 2001, I want to say, Uncanny did a whole big thing where Apocalypse and Cable were going to have this big fight, and Apocalypse's big plan. And I remember it was involving 12 mutants with special powers. He was trying to basically imbue himself with the powers of the Celestials or something like that, I believe. And then, as an epilogue, part of Apocalypse's plan involved a rogue set of Skrulls. If you followed my shorts I did maybe like 2 or 3 years ago at this point for Secret Invasion about the Skrulls, I touched on a little bit because there were some mutant Skrulls, and some sided with Xavier and actually helped, quote unquote, save the day. But there were two kind of issues where they showed an alternate or a future version of Xavier's Skrull mutants, where I think for a while Xavier had gone into space to try to start like the Skrull X-Men or something. And I feel like this ties back into that. It may or may not be wrong, but that's what Ages of Apocalypse refers to. You remember a few minutes ago I was talking about Thunderbird, whom I liked, but they kind of did nothing with. I think this was the last kind of meaty story he had. This was kind of his origin. Yeah, Wolverine turned out to be Death, and I mean, to be honest with you, that was that was probably the best part of that story, and that was well overdue. I remember reading an interview with Larry Hama where he was like, "Yeah, I only expected this to happen for like 3 issues, where he lost his medal, but we just kept running with it." X-Men Unlimited number 28 with Dark Star. She's one of my favorite. I shouldn't say favorite, but whenever she's a character, whenever she pops up, I'll take a look. I don't know why. Don't know much about her. And you can also see at this point, Gambit was kind of mimicking a little bit of his Age of Apocalypse attire at that time, which I never noticed that until now, including shiny bauble knee pads. But if I'm not mistaken, I think Brett Booth was on the art here. Some early Brett Booth goodness. Number 29 for Maximum Security, which was an interesting Marvel storyline that ultimately went nowhere. Here is an issue that I need to replace on the cheap. I think my dog, I used to have a dog at my mom's long ago. She's gone at least 15 years now. Destroyed this one. And this is also why it's in a bag that's a little bit beat up. This is X-Men Unlimited 30. Nice Beatles homage. I don't think Nightcrawler was dead at this point in time, but that would be an interesting kind of coincidence if it were. I remember this cover. Number 32, Dazzler. Gary's not watching, but Gary would like this cover. I guess. I don't know. I could be wrong. Number 33, you've got, and this is kind of where I started falling off with the series, Emma Frost and the Black Queen, whose name escapes me, Selena. There you go. The yin and yang, if you will. This is the kind of artwork I know a lot of people like that's coming up that I just don't go for. And yeah, it's a more Japanese style. This is actually from Udon. Who I'll be honest with you, I like Udon for my Street Fighter covers, which I think I only have like 2 or 3 of. Not necessarily for X-Men, just my opinion. You guys chime in, and let me know. X-Men Limited 36. I don't know this artist, Cheeto. I thought it was maybe, it kind of reminds me of a Nathan Surdy. And this was after Colossus died. He got better. Don't worry, people. Chris Pacello. Let me know if you have anything you need to fill, because if I have any duplicates, I will certainly be more than happy to pass them on to you. These are some I didn't realize. I kind of remembered. I didn't realize it was Phil Noto, though. There's some early Marvel Phil Noto. Love me some Noto. This is a great cover. I don't remember the story, but it's a great cover. This is number 47. Number 50. And I think that might have been the last one for that volume. Let's see. Yeah, that was the last one for that volume. There was a second volume that came out. I'm trying to pull it up now in the CLZ app. Yeah, I only have a handful of these. I thank you, but no X-Men currently digital. Yeah. Okay. Interesting covers. Number 3. Number 7. And this volume I don't remember as fondly as the past one. Number 8. And this was more recent. This was, I guess, during Decimation. You could tell because of the Decimation. With Mesmero. And number 14. I like this cover. Nice Colossus action. Okay. Okay. Next was a very short-lived series. Ooh. I believe this was all following. Hey, Justin. I believe this was following Decimation. I may be wrong. I thought this was a good series. I kind of didn't go anywhere. It was part of the Marvel Knights line, where Bishop kind of was a cop. Bishop's one of those characters that I think is great and underutilized or misutilized to the point where they've almost destroyed him as a character. In later volumes and later series, he became a villain, chasing Cable and Hope throughout time. But in my opinion, they went too far. I think they later explained it in a volume of X-Force that he was possessed, I think. I want to say by the Demon Bear. I might be wrong on that. But they've never really had that whole kind of, I think, great Bishop story since then. I was always excited. I was like a little excited when they really kind of brought him into Marauders, but again, he just kind of sat there. I always wanted to read the whole Phalanx saga. Only read the X-Men. I'll be honest with you, was not my favorite at all. I just never understood it. It was kind of very boring to me. You may have read the best parts. It was one of those series I remember that was so boring. Spoilers for a 20-year-old series at this point, almost 30-year-old series, Jesus Christ. They had introduced, if you recall, Blink, into the regular universe. And she quickly died fighting the Phalanx. Then Age of Apocalypse was, I think, the next year after. And they introduced that version of Blink, who was widely popular, the one that most people think of now. But they kind of didn't know how to integrate her, in my opinion, at least until they did Exiles a little bit later on, which I have a run of, but not in this box. So here we go, District X #1 with, again, Cop Bishop. And again, this was post Decimation, I want to say. This might be one of the series that is not on the Marvel Unlimited app. I haven't tried to search it. But I'll say it's well worth the read, at least some of the early issues. I kind of feel like this is a Bob Dylan song at this point. I'll check these in the app in a minute. I'm just seeing it. So far it goes once it goes in order. Interesting cover. Let's see if it's signed at all. I don't see a signature. Here's another one signed by Tom Rainey and Scott Hanna. I laugh whenever I see these because Tom Rainey actually goes to my LCS Fat Moose, and every so often he's nice enough to sign something and leave it at the store, and my LCS owner will leave it for me. So I have more signed Tom Rainey books, I think, than most. Hold on. Justin, I've read about Bishop's in character. The writing wasn't great. I really like the character. Yeah, and that's pretty much the issue, the main problem. I'll say this, if you really want to go back and read a good Bishop-centric story, check out, I think it was the first limited series from the late 90s where he was chasing a villain by the name of Trevor Fitzroy through time. Yeah, they tried to go, I think, heavy with Bishop, with X-Force. In the late 90s, at one point, his deceased sister, Shard, was on the team as a hologram, which, considering a hologram is made of light, I don't know exactly how that worked out. You know, when you read things as an adult, it's different than when you read things as a kid. Okay, District X. Do I have all of this in? I do. Wow, I'm better with my CLZ than I thought. Okay. All right, another one from this box. It is from another lesser-known X-Men series. This is the Weapon X series from the early 2000s. So at one point, they killed Deadpool. If you could find those issues, I think they're pretty expensive. It's actually pretty interesting and intriguing, especially how he comes back to life. During that time, there was a different person filling in for Deadpool by the name of Agent X. But they used that as a springboard to say, hey, we should do a Weapon X-centric book. And they took some of these fringe characters, some from X Factor, some from Wolverine books, some just regular X-Men books, and they made this whole team. And the first kind of launch of this, most of them, if I'm not mistaken, were written by Frank Thierry, was called The Draft, where some of the characters introduced made it and some didn't. So here was one with Wild Child and Aurora, who were both part of X Factor at the time. Wild Child, he was interesting. Going back to what Mike was saying with post-Age of Apocalypse, I really found him to be interesting in post-Age of Apocalypse. And at some point, they just tried to do too much with him. I don't know what he's like now, but during this Weapon X era, he was like Nosferatu. You had Kane and Agent Jackson. Zero, who was an original character, and Wolverine. Zero was had a minor role in that terrible Wolverine Origins film, but he wasn't masked. Sauron, again, a waste of a character, in my opinion. And Marrow, and I don't remember who. I think the unknown was actually Sabretooth. And then that had launched into an ongoing. So you have Weapon X issue 1, and this is early, I believe, Mike Mayhew art. Issue 2. Nice cover. Issue 3. Excuse me. Issue 4, again, you have that Nosferatu Wild Child with Aurora. 5. 6. Cable looking like Leon from The Professional. Oh no, this is number 7. 6, 7. Never mind, that is right. Domino, and not a suggestive cover at all. Number 9 with what's his name? John Sublime, again, who was used in the Wolverine Origins movie. 10. 11. Boomer, or Boom Boom, whatever her name is now. 12. 13. Nice Mr. Sinister cover. Here's a character that I feel like they don't do enough with, that they kind of gave up on. From Generation X, Johnny Starsmore, also known as Chamber. I always thought it'd be interesting, and I'm saying this to you because I'm pretty much resigned to the fact that I have ideas for characters that I'll never be able to put to fruition. I always thought it'd be interesting if Marvel had a series where you had the former Horsemen of Apocalypse somehow, I don't know, maybe they have to do something like Save Apocalypse or something like that. And it came to mind because Chamber, for a brief while, was one of the Horsemen. I think he was Death after Wolverine was. Of course, you could tell when the series sales were going down because you had to throw some X-Men in there. I don't even remember which character this is here. We'll call him... Oh, this bag was done. Okay. We'll call him Light Chest. Issue 20. Apparently I'm missing issue 21. Let's see. Yeah, I don't have... Okay. Remove. Yes. Okay. 22 is a very cool cover. Here's issue 23. To be honest with you, if this is Phantom X, I don't think that this might not be Phantom X, but because I was going to say I didn't think that the series lasted that long into it, because Phantom X was introduced, I think, early 2000s. Issue 24, interesting cover. 25. And I'll say this, I remember this being a good series for the most part, and it ended quite abruptly. I do have the last issue, not here. I don't know where it is, it's somewhere. And then following this, just in this pile, I had, this was a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 issue miniseries, Weapon X Days of Future Now, which I'll be honest with you, I remember nothing about except Frank Thierry and Bart Sears' art. Here's a very old-looking Magneto. He kind of looks like an aging rock star in this one. He's like, I don't care that I'm 90 years old. I'm going on stage and singing. Look at my crotch. There you go. That's my old rock star voice, by the way. Yes, I'll be here all day. Weapon X Days of the Future Now, and it's just a big Sentinel head. So let's see, do I have Days of Future Now input in here? I kind of think I may. And I do. By the way, this series is worth a whopping 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. Yes, $15. I have to stop and do the math. This is all I grabbed from that long box. Let me do this. Let me grab... I don't know if I'll grab some things that I have loose, or maybe a short box. I've got like 20 minutes left. And I'll try to make it some non-X-Men stuff, just to change it up a little bit. Be right back. in case you were wondering, yes, my stuff is in our basement area, but it's well protected and well ventilated. I've got 2 dehumidifiers running at all times. And yes, you have to actually step up to go into the basement. Technically, my house is what's called a raised ranch, which I think is just marketing for you don't have a garage. But yeah, like when I'm working from home, when I'm filming most of my videos, I'm in this room. This is the finished area. Small bathroom here. We've got the furnace and everything that kicks on when I'm recording, and the unfinished portion there. So everything's well protected. It's not ideal. I did have a storage unit when we first moved into this house, and prices got out of hand quickly with my storage unit. It went from, I think it was like $50 a month, which I was like okay with, to it ballooned to like over $200 a month, and I was like, this is not good. So I wound up taking everything out of that unit pretty quickly. And I remember my wife didn't appreciate this. She might not like this part of the story. I don't know. This was 2018. I had just had shoulder surgery. I was in a sling, rotator cuff surgery. It became apparent I could not afford this unit any longer. I was calling around. I was like, I got to get my stuff out of this unit this weekend or else whatever. I just can't afford it. I had reached out to my siblings. Like, oh, we can't help. We can't help. I reached out to my dad. And I was like, look, I can't do this physically. Okay. Nobody's busy. All of a sudden, everybody got unbusy. So go figure. And it took about 2 or 3 trips with, I don't think Mark was here to help me with that one. 2 to 3 trips with a pretty big size pickup truck to get all my long boxes out. I had a 10 by 10 unit. I had a good unit. And then it was kind of not placed back as I had wanted it to, but I've been working on it ever since. That's why things are a little out of sorts, I'll be honest with you. What the heck happened? Okay. All right, so let me just show this. This is stuff that was just loose, so I know that this is going to be unorganized. I figure if you might not be into X-Men books, maybe this might be a little more interesting. I have a pretty extensive run of the Batman and Robin series. So this is issue number 4. Issue 5. Issue 6, Philip Tan, artwork on the interior at least. Issue 7. I stopped collecting Batman for the most part right after Tom King's run concluded. And I'll say this, I have not been back to my LCS in a while, as I've been talking about. But I am interested in that Chris Samney series and Mark Waid. Issue 10. I took a little break, and then I came back to issue 13. These are all from volume 1, I believe. Then they went ahead and reset the whole universe, and here's a new volume. And I have more of these. Again, these are organized. Issue 7. Issue 16. Issue 20. Issue 23, I believe this was right before Robin was killed, or right after. There's the lenticular 23.1, because they had to start getting cute with their stuff. I'm putting that here for Batman and Robin. I have to remember that when I bring these in here, because I'm not done sorting that, it's going to be in a separate pile. And this is how I get this organized. Action Comics Annual number 13. By the way, did you guys hear that there's a new Superman movie? Somebody thumbed down? Whatever. Did you guys hear that there's a new Superman movie coming out? I don't know why nobody's talking about this. Sometimes these are just for me. These are, okay, blank bags and boards. Looks like they've seen better days. Probably garbage. I'll have to take a look at those and assess those later on. We'll put that here. Here is Batman and Superman, Jeff Loeb, Ed McGuinness series. This is number 6.
You'll need to unlock your iPhone first.
Thanks, Siri. Looks like this is more of kind of like a mixed Superman pile now here too. This is from the Superman Rebirth, number 33. 34. Okay, putting that here. Okay, Action Comics. I remember really liking Action Comics during this time. This was when Luthor was basically the focus of the story. Paul Cornell story. David Finch art. 893. 894, which is a great issue. I remember that one. 901. And again, the universe got rebooted, and we have number 7 from the new 52. Oh, here, wait. From that same universe. See, I told you this jumps around a little bit. 896, guest starring the Secret Six. Slip that in here. 897. Okay, let me put that aside for a second. And Superman, All-Star Superman Special Edition. This was just a free preview. I kept a lot of like the free, what do you call it? I can't think of the name of it. Like the free promotional materials, like Marvel used to put out a bunch of them. Like even those little index cards. I kept all of them. I don't know why. I just think they're cool. Action number 12. And here's from the new 52 reboot number 0. I had a good amount of the new 52 for all of DC because at the time my LCS was doing it's kind of like a previous, but Marvel used to put out just those little index cards that basically was like, here's the series, here's the art, here's the issues you need to collect. At the time my LCS was doing something where they were like, hey, if you commit to the first 3 issues of every DC series, we'll give you like a price break. And I did that. And some of them were really good. And I got hooked on some characters I had never even imagined picking up before. And some of them were god-awful. But most of those kind of ended pretty quickly. And there were some that were good but just weren't for me. Like I remember I have the first couple issues of I, Vampire. And just wasn't for me. This is a more recent one, Catwoman 43. I did notice while I was organizing my Batman stuff, I have like 20 years where I was just getting everything Batman. I'm talking about Batman, Legends of the Dark Knight, the Dark, whatever. Every single Batman series, Robin, Catwoman, Batgirl. Not so much with Robin and Batgirl, to be honest with you, but I have a huge amount of Robin books, and I'm like, I don't really remember most of these. They weren't very good, but they were cheaper at the time. This, I remember being interesting, at least. This was from Robin War. This was Grayson. Yeah, that's a better way of putting it, Bat Family. Here is an earlier issue of Batgirl, number 64. This is from 2005. Here are some more recent Batgirl issues. I think that people are going to know. Again, Phil Noto. Love me some Noto. This was from 2009, issue 1. Two. 3. Love this one. 4. 5. Okay, I'm still looking around. I have issue 6. It's a good cover, not as nice. And 7. Then I stopped picking up Batgirl, but I jumped back into her, I think, during the New 52. Here we go. Issue 4. Issue 22. '23. This is why they have these grouped together, because they're Bat family. You're right. Oh, here's 24. It's a good cover. This is Dustin Nguyen, I believe. Here's one everybody was trying to hunt more recently. Maybe not more recently, but here's a Terry Dodson variant. I liked this one, number 47. Batgirl and the Birds of Prey, number 1. I think this is about as far as I got with the series. Birds of Prey was another series I was trying to collect all of at one point and just kind of like, eh. Oh, I have to go back to my Batman and Robins because we have 23.2. Lenticular Court of Owls. Is this lenticular? Yeah. '24. And this was, I remember, right after Robin died. They just had a different kind of guest hero, if you want to say, or character. It was 28. And I remember during this time there was a lot of stories that were just like a complete gut punch. Frankenstein there. Here's a Phil Noto cover. This was a variant. There's a Lego cover. And there's when Robin was getting better. I remember really liking this part of the run. Batman and gets the what is the death bird or something armor and just goes after Darkseid. 39. And then I have here is 1, 2, and 3. So it's the first 3 from what I showed you earlier. So it looks like I tried to get organized with this at some point. I'll tell you what, it is 55 minutes in at this point. I think that is enough diving for this week. So again, I was just trying something out new. I hope that you liked it. If you didn't, oh well. I may or may not try to do this again on a Saturday. This might be something I do more of maybe during the week. But I figured, look, you know what? It's the last show of the year. I didn't schedule a guest. Trying to kind of figure out exactly where I am as a collector. But this is that's a whole nother discussion, maybe for another time. Anyway, like I said, I hope you enjoyed this. If not, oh well. At least I hope that you have a great day. I do appreciate you stopping by and spending a little bit of time with me today. I hope they have a great weekend, and I hope that everybody stays warm. It was a bit of a challenge this morning, I'm not going to lie to you. Seeing as this is the last live show of 2024, I just want to say formally live, To those who celebrate, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, enjoy your Festivus, whatever you celebrate, just have a great time, even if you're not celebrating anything. Hopefully you get to do so with some good friends and some good family. And Happy New Year. Thanks again. Peace, love, and comics. Take care.